like John and myself, pick your ancestral homes for the summer. A colonial mansion, a hereditary estate. I should say a haunted house, and raise the hand of felicity. But that would be asking too much of fate. Still, I will proudly declare that there is something queer about it. John laughs at me, of course, but one expects that in marriage. John is a physician, and perhaps that is one reason I do not get well faster. You see, he does not believe I am sick. But what can one do? If a physician of high standing and one's own husband assures friends and relatives that there is really nothing the matter with one but temporary nervous depression, a slight hysterical tendency, what is one to do? So I take phosphates, or phosphates, whichever it is, and tonics, and journeys, and air, and exercise, and I'm absolutely forbidden to work until I'm well again. Personally, I disagree with their ideas. Personally, I believe that congenial work with excitement and change would do me good. I sometimes fancy that in my condition, if I had less opposition and more society and stimulus. But John says that the very worst thing I can do is talk and think about my condition, and I confess it always makes me feel bad. So I will let it alone and talk about the house. The most beautiful place. It makes me think of English places that you read about, for there are hedges and walls and gates that lock. There's a delicious garden. There were greenhouses too, but they're all broken now. I don't like our room a bit. I wanted one downstairs that opened on the piazza and had roses all over the window and such pretty ship hangings. But John wouldn't hear of it. He said there was only one window and not room for two beds, and only room for him if he took another. He's very careful and loving and hardly lets me stir without special direction. To value it more. He said we came here solely on my account, that I was to have perfect ears and all the air I could get. Your exercise depends on your strength, my dear, and your food somewhat on your appetite, but air you can absorb all the time. So we took the nursery at the top of the house. It is a big, airy room with windows that look always and air and sunshine galore. The wallpaper is stripped off in great patches all around the head of my bed, and in a great place at the other side of the room down low. I never saw a worse paper in my life. One of those sprawling, flamboyant patterns committing every artistic sin. It is dull enough to confuse the eye in following, pronounced enough to constantly irritate and provoke study, and when you follow the lame, uncertain curves for a little distance, they suddenly commit suicide, plunge off at outrageous angles. The color is repellent, almost revolting, a smoldering, unclean yellow. No wonder the children hated it! I should hate it myself if I had to live in this room long. I lie here all day, staring at the wallpaper, and I start seeing strange shapes and figures. They get clearer every day. It is always the same. A woman creeping about behind the pattern, trying to climb through. I think that woman gets out in the daytime. I can see her out of every one of my windows. It is the same woman, I know, because she's always creeping, and most women do not creep by daylight. I see her on that large shaded lane, creeping up and down. I see her in the dark grape arbors, creeping all around the garden. I see her in that long road under the trees, creeping along, and when a carriage comes, she hides under the blackberry vines. I don't blame her a bit. It must be very humiliating to be caught creeping by daylight. I always lock the door when I creep by daylight. I can't do it at night, for John would suspect something at once. And John is so queer now that I don't want to irritate him. Besides, I don't want anybody else to catch that woman at night but myself. If only the top pattern could be gotten off from the under one. I mean to try it, little by little. It sticks horribly and the pattern just enjoys it. All those strangled heads and bulbous eyes and waddling fungus growths just shriek with derision. I don't like to look out of the windows even. There are so many of these creeping women, and they creep so fast. I wonder if they all came out of that wallpaper as I did. I suppose I shall have to get back behind the pattern when it comes night, and that is hard. It is so pleasant to be out in this great room and creep around as I please. Outside you have to creep on the ground, and everything is green instead of yellow. But here I can creep smoothly on the floor, and my shoulder just fits in that long smooth around the wall, so I cannot lose my way. Why, there's John at the door. I've got out at last, in spite of you!